of day 2 of the Business Show Africa. I am very excited to be introducing you to our next speaker for the day, and that is Kristin Ransome from Google. Welcome, Kristin.
Thanks so much, Leanne. Yeah, really happy to be here with you all today. It's always a privilege for me to have the space to speak to people from my home continent. I'm from South Africa myself, so it's always a huge privilege to be asked to share the space.
Yes, so Kristin is joining us from Dublin in Ireland today. So it is wonderful to see, even though we go over abroad, that the roots are still very South African, and that you are actually now investing in the small businesses of South Africa. So Kristin, before I hand over the stage to you, would you like to tell us a little bit more about your role at Google?
Yes, I'll tell you very briefly because I'll unpack it in a bit more detail now. But I've been at Google since 2019, April. I worked in sales for the last 3.5 years. And as of August, I've moved into learning and development. So my main focus areas are training and coaching new Googlers to have a growth mindset, to develop the skill of curiosity, to learn how to embrace storytelling as a way to help people to collaborate, and many other inspiring things. So I'm grinning ear to ear every day when I get to work. It's been a really wonderful change for me, and I'm excited to learn some of the essence of what inspires me with you all today.
So without further ado, I'm going to hand over the stage to Kristin. I want you all to keep an open mind. This is going to be something a little different. Please interact. Use the chat box, use the emojis, and the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of this. I know that for a fact. Kristin, all the best, and I'll see you again at the end.
Thanks, Leanne. Yeah, I'll take it actually a step further and say not only to keep an open mind, but more importantly, to keep an open heart. The topic today is quite a loaded one, and it's one that is often not spoken about in the workplace. And when it is spoken about, it's not taken as seriously as we should take it. And having an open mind and an open heart is what will enable you to receive and be curious about what I have to say today. So before I get started with anything further, I'm going to put on some music for 90 seconds. And in that time, I would love to hear from each and every single one of you to answer that question there I have on the screen. And you just post your answer in the chat box. And the question there says, what are the first 3 words that come to mind when you think about experiencing change? And I know that we all have so many things to speak about this, especially after these last 3 years, which have been incredibly difficult, uncertain, and unstable. So I'm going to stop speaking and let's hear from you. Just as the song was getting to my favorite part, I'm going to stop it there. Thanks so much for those of you who have shared, and keep them coming. I'm seeing a lot of comments and a lot of things that really resonate with me. Fear, uncertainty, lack of clarity, discomfort on one hand, But on the other hand, a lot of you have posted that there's progress, there's opportunity, there's growth. And I think what makes change such a loaded topic is that it really exposes to us that contrasts do exist and can coexist. And when we start to see that and embrace that, it's the gateway to really being curious about change. There's a quote that I really love, and it says, "Seeing more requires excluding less." So when we speak about change, let's not only speak about the positive side of it, but we also need to accept and speak about the fact that it's a really uncomfortable, nerve-wracking, unstabling thing for a lot of people. But that shouldn't stop us from being curious about what could it mean to break past the boundaries that we build around ourselves out of fear and insecurity and looking for safety, and to be curious to explore what's on the other side of that. So the message I hope to empower you with today is this: change is not uncomfortable. Our resistance to change is uncomfortable. It blurs our clarity. It causes us pain. And when we feel resistance, perhaps it's because we're meeting a boundary. And what I'm suggesting today is that it is possible to relax some of the boundaries that we have and to explore the unknown with a sense of awe and wonder. Now, you'll notice that I have had the audacity to call this session Learning to Love Change. I'm not just asking you to embrace change and be curious about it. I'm asking you to learn to love change, because I believe that love is something that we can teach. It's something that we can practice. And it's ultimately about learning to be more open to life, despite life's imperfections, despite life's discomfort, despite the fear that we feel. Whew. All right, so enough about that. Let me come up to the surface and tell you a little bit more about me. So as we already said, my name is Kristin Ransome. I've been living in Dublin, Ireland since April 2019. You can see a picture there of me cycling home in the rain. This happens on a common occurrence, and to keep my spirits up, I always take selfies. So there's one for you. And living in Europe over these last 3.5 years, one of the first things I always tell people when I meet somebody new is that I'm South African. Because my heritage, to me, it's a heritage of hope. Nelson Mandela encouraged us to make choices that reflect our hopes, not our fears. And the choice I have made with my career is to empower people to get closer to what inspires them. I believe that you can train your mind in order to be more hopeful, creative, courageous, curious, to sense more connection. I worked in marketing for a startup in South Africa for 2.5 years before I moved halfway around the world to Dublin. And when I joined Google, for the next 3.5 years, I worked in small business sales. So basically what that meant was I was working with small businesses across South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria to better understand their marketing strategy and how that translates into digital and how Google can support them with their growth and to help them scale. And I'm now at a point in my career where I'm wanting to evolve the skill set I've learned in sales. I always tell people that sales, to me, is the art and science of getting people to care. And now I'm asking, how can I get people to care more about their joy? Too often when we speak about mental health, we speak about stress management. That doesn't inspire me. I think we should start focusing on joy management to inspire people to believe that there's so much more to this beautifully imperfect life than many of us are able to experience right now. Joy is possible for every person in every moment. And given that most of us adults spend our 8 to 5 at work, I believe it is in the workplace that we should prioritize this very important topic of joy and how we are manifesting that in our own lives and for the business we work for and for the customers that we serve. So let me take you back, April 2019. When I joined Google, this quote was something that really inspired me. These are the words of Laszlo Bock, who used to be the ex-senior vice president of people operations, or HR, at Google. And he said, Google is able to attract top talent because we empower people to change the world. Wow. Now, I remember thinking, this does sound very inspiring, but it also sounds very big and ambitious. And I started wondering, what does it mean for people to feel empowered? And what was this company doing differently that enabled people to be empowered at work, inspired, motivated, fulfilled? Yesterday, I was at lunch with our learning and development team, and we started discussing this point of empowerment once again. And I raised the question, given the complexity, the challenges that we are facing today in 2022, given how much has changed within the last 3 years since the COVID-19 pandemic began, 3 years is a little bit more, but it has been a long period of uncertainty. How are we still addressing this topic? What do we need to feel empowered at work? Globally, we're seeing big trends with the Great Resignation, quiet quitting. Do you know that over 75% of the workforce is disengaged at work? That means that they are not empowered. They are demotivated. They don't feel like they're making progress on projects or goals that matter to them. They don't have energy to bring themselves to work. And not only does that affect their personal well-being, but it deeply affects the businesses they are working for and the customers that they are serving. And as a result, I think this should be a top priority for all of us businesses. But then how do you empower someone who is disengaged, who has turned the energy button off? And it's a very loaded question, and it's very important for me to share today. I'm not here to share answers. I'm here to share ideas. And I'm hoping that you can walk away with some of these ideas, you can build upon them, you can explore them yourselves. We need to create more space for idea sharing on these big, important topics and to feel comfortable to share our imperfect ideas. It's been something that made me so nervous in preparing for this talk, because I also felt I had to have all the answers to be this person who was going to speak about learning to love change and how to bring joy into the workplace. I'm going to share some ideas with you today, which I hope inspire you to start some conversations within your own businesses. A few months ago, as part of Google's mental health program, I shared this message on stage. The most powerful way to compel someone to change is to love them. When I joined Google, I came across a personal development workshop called Life Design and Mission Crafting, founded by another fellow South African called Samir Raji. And he is now one of my greatest mentors and friends. And when I attended this workshop, I was coached to learn more about my strengths, my values, my passions, my talents, and how I could express these in my job at Google and in my wider career ambitions at large. I fell absolutely in love with how much this course empowered me that I started to facilitate life design myself. And I came to learn that finding one's purpose in life is one of the most transformational experiences we can have. Finding our purpose enables us to experience our true inner motivation, leaving us with a feeling of effortlessness and satisfaction. And given how much is changing in the world around us, I think finding out how to unlock the motivation within us is really key to our ongoing success. I've come to learn that purpose is not about the work that you do. Purpose is about expressing who you are in the work that you do. And to express yourself, you need to trust yourself. To trust yourself, you need to know yourself. To know yourself, you need to love yourself. Now, personal development workshops like Life Design are not only about empowering individuals to, craft their purpose and to think about how they can bring that part of themselves to their job. but it's also about empowering people to think more creatively about their life and how they bring themselves to work as a result. Now, I've added a screenshot of my WhatsApp chat with Samir, and this was last night. I sent him a message saying, hey, Samir, tomorrow I'm doing this talk called Learning to Love Change, and I'm feeling a lot of imposter syndrome. I'm feeling that it's scary to speak about this in a corporate environment, which is all about being professional and all about perfection and all about growth and results. And who am I to speak about learning how to love in the workplace? And even as I say this now, I'm feeling heavy. And he sent me some voice notes which really changed my perspective. And I'm just going to read to you what he said. He said, there is no better mission that any company could have than to take care of its own inner peace, because that inner peace overflows into the world. Their product mission, the thing they use to generate revenue, simply becomes secondary. We are our companies. The people are the company. And if we are not focusing on how to unlock greater senses of hope, happiness, joy, connection, motivation, inspiration in our people, then our ability to innovate and remain relevant is going to diminish rapidly. He sent me another message this morning saying, Chris, good luck for the talk. And he didn't say, be yourself. He said, bear yourself. Because I believe the biggest trap that so many of us find in being able to experience a sense of inner peace is exposing and expressing who we are. And I always take myself back to that quote that says, it is our light, not our darkness, that we fear most. It is not that we are inadequate. It is that we are more powerful beyond measure. And this sense of inner connection, the sense of power that every single one of us has, it's a capacity that you have to consciously build. I always like to think, imagine if a superhero never learned how their powers worked. They could do incredible damage with that, right? And it is the same with us. We have to learn about who we are if we want to have a tremendous impact in the world and maximize our experience of life as a result. And I'll take it to a quote from another one of my role models, which is Mahatma Gandhi. And he said, the day the power of love overrules the love of power, the world will know peace. Love is about making a conscious choice to be open to life. Love is a way of being that can be taught and practiced. Love should be a top priority in the workplace if we hope to unlock greater creativity and innovation, as well as address the rising mental health crisis. And why I've titled the session, Learning to Love Change, is because I think that love is ultimately what inspires us to keep going when we are lost. So let's zoom out and speak about change a little bit more and what it feels like when you're lost. Now, I think this map is pretty accurate, right? You were here and now you are lost. That's what change can feel like. Your manager announces that the company is reorging and tomorrow you're in a different role. Or, hey, your competitor has just launched a product that could put you out of business in the next 6 months if you don't rapidly do something about it. Or maybe someone has just broken up with you, right? These moments in your life where it feels like the rug has been pulled out from underneath your feet are incredibly uncomfortable. And often as a result, we start to feel lost. And feeling lost takes on a few different forms. One of the first ones, feeling a loss of perceived safety. And when you feel anxious, you quite literally feel that your survival is at threat. Your heart races, your palms go sweaty, your mouth goes dry. When you are anxious, you lose touch of the present moment. You find yourself lost in thought, thinking of all of these threats that you think are nearby and how you can escape. And this is just your brain trying to protect you, when actually it's starting to work against us because our world around us has changed so much. Our brain's ability to detect what is and is not a threat has not evolved at a rate fast enough. I often think that the fact that around the world we are still fighting over the color of our skin and whether or not someone is a male or female and all of these more surface level things is mind-blowing. These should not be threats. We should learn to come together. And once again, we can teach people how to do this and how to overcome the bias woven into their own minds. Feeling lost feels like a loss of motivation. I mentioned earlier, 75% of the global workforce are disengaged at work. They're not motivated by what they are doing. And this means they do not have significant energy to focus on the task at hand. Now, when you are lost and without energy, you are at the most risk. Imagine being lost in the desert and you are so tired you can't walk. What's going to happen to you? Burnout is a bone-tired, heart-tired, soul-tired kind of exhaustion. And when your workforce is tired, they are unlikely to have the energy to embrace the possibility that comes with change. Feeling lost feels like a loss of hope. I'm never going to find my way. I'm going to be lost forever. Why even try? Depression is one of the leading causes of disability. Suicide is the 4th leading cause of death among people aged 15 to 29. When people have lost their sense of hope, they have lost their sense of finding light in the darkness. And when we are asking them to embrace change, which often feels like stepping into the darkness, into the unknown, we have to ensure that they have a flashlight in their hand, and that flashlight is hope. And lastly, feeling lost feels like a loss of clarity. Stress is the experience of emotional or physical tension. And I believe that a lot of the stress we experienced is caused by our resistance to change. Clarity is about seeing life as it is, not as we think it should be, not as we think we want it to be, but seeing life as it is, acknowledging those contrasts we spoke about earlier and the fact that they coexist, and choosing what we can focus on. So I'm going to offer you a different map. And I like to call this map a map on how to love life. I'm going to pause for 30 seconds and just let your eyes scan upon it and take from it what you can. What stands out for you when you look at this map? So there's a few key things that stand out to me. I could speak about this map for the entire day, but a few key things. The first is the distinction between life paths that are open to you and life paths that are closed to you, and being able to make peace with that which is not in your control. The second thing is the difference between the past and the future, and noticing the story you might have about what these perceived time periods mean to you and how that influences you in the present moment. But the most significant thing I see when I look at this map is that life only ever exists now, in the present moment. What happened in the past is gone. We cannot change it. We cannot relive it. And what is to come in the future is largely unknown. We can plan, of course, and I love planning is very important, but ultimately it's largely not in our control. And your life could unfold beyond your wildest imagination, for better or for worse. Being present is about being grateful for all you have right now. Happiness is not about having what you want. It's about wanting what you have right now. Don't lose yourself. Find yourself in the present moment. The challenge is, can you give yourself permission to be inspired by the possibility of the unknown? Or will you continue to unconsciously strive for control and certainty, minimizing your life in the process? Now, I know what you're thinking. I need to have a sense of control in order to maintain my life and my safety. And look, control is not all a bad thing. I do agree. There's a spectrum on everything that we speak about. It's when you feel like you need control. It's when you feel like you're clinging to it. It's when your identity is built around it that it starts to become dangerous, because it removes us from having clarity, from seeing life as it is, from being in the present moment. When you are lost in the story about your life, you are no longer living your life. You need to remember that you are the author and the main character of the story of your life. And a short poem that I wrote: when you are lost, are you able to pause, to notice, to ask, where am I? And to remember that a map is only useful if you can first find that circle that says you are here. And from that point, you can see which directions might serve you and help you find the path that is useful for you in your life going forward. From the present moment, connected to who you are, you have a sense of clarity, courage, creativity, and compassion. When you are lost, a map is useless if you don't know where you are. If you are too busy looking at the map of how life used to be or how you think life should be, you won't be able to see how life is, and you won't be able to respond creatively as a result. Finding yourself in the present moment is what gives you the power and reminds you that you are not lost. I'm sure we've all heard this quote, the quote that says, with great power comes great responsibility. I like to flip these words the other way around. I like to say that with great responsibility comes great power, because being responsible literally means being able to respond. You can only respond from a conscious, disciplined, dedicated, deliberate place if you are present, connected to who you are. And that is where your true power is. So I'd like for you to bring to mind someone who deeply inspires you. Just bring their face into your mind. Someone who you think has great power and influence. What do you notice about this person? How connected are they to themselves? What is their quality of hope, energy, motivation? What is their clarity like? What are you most inspired about this person? And what you start to sense into as you answer this question or these questions is what you value. Often the role models we have, the people who we see have great power, they reflect the values which we would most love to emulate ourselves. And that's a wonderful question to ask people, especially at work. So let's go back. You're lost, right? You don't know where you are. You're undergoing change. Let's imagine a genie appeared, okay? And you are granted one wish. Once again, I'm going to play some music for 90 seconds, and I'd love for you all to answer this question. If you could wish to master one skill which could empower you when you are lost, what would it be? And I'd love to hear from all of you, so simply pop your answers there in the chat. Wow, I'm so inspired looking at what you've all written there. I see a lot about wisdom, strength, trust, understanding. I loved somebody wrote, Dorothy, get off your ass. Patience, focus, knowing where I am currently, calmness and logic, being more outgoing. There was a lot about confidence. And I'll have you know, confidence is really about being connected to yourself. A lot of people want more confidence. All it is, are you connected to yourself? Do you know yourself? Do you trust yourself? Do you love yourself? All right, so what I'm going to do is share. Some Google sales managers were asked a similar question, framed a little differently. And they were asked, what is the most important skill that contributes towards success? Now, this is obviously with more of a work focus. Is it being quick to learn? Is it about being proactive? Is it about demonstrating strong stakeholder management, product knowledge? Is it about being customer orientated? Or is it about being curious? And I wonder which of these it is. Curiosity is the engine of all achievement. It is the willingness to hold space for the unknown and to gaze into that space with a sense of awe and wonder, to be inspired by possibility rather than to fear it. Curiosity is a muscle. It is a skill that can be taught and developed. It is an infinite resource. The more you use, the more you have. And I've come to notice that many of us have the wrong idea of what it means to be curious. And I wrote a poem about this, which I want to share with you today. And before I do, I'll acknowledge it's really scary for me to share my own poetry. But I've chosen to do so because my whole message to you is that it is scary to share yourself with the world, but it's beautiful. And that's what makes life worth living. So I titled this poem, Needing to Know. I need to know the answer. I tell myself it's because I'm too curious. But curiosity is not about having the answer. Curiosity is about seeking the answer, holding space for the unknown, welcoming uncertainty, finding awe in possibility. When I notice myself needing to know the answer, I now know that needing is not curiosity. It is just my discomfort of uncertainty. It is me needing to know. Look out for this in your own workplace. How long can you hold a conversation without finding an answer? How able are you to explore the discomfort of just asking questions? So this is where the magic is. 2 ways of thinking. This is so powerful. And again, I don't have time to really go into a lot of detail with you, about this with you today, but there's so much you can take from this. 2 ways of thinking, a psychologist, J.P. Guilford, determined a number of years back. And he said the ultimate solutions to problems are rational. The process of finding them is not. Now, there's 2 different ways people think, and both of them are important. Convergent thinking is about finding facts and using them to support an answer. Okay? Divergent thinking is about asking questions and using those questions to find ideas. Divergent thinking is an expansive way of thinking. Divergent thinking is the most fundamental element of creative problem solving. And because we are not looking for answers, rather we are exploring ideas, there's no such thing as failure. Perfection doesn't exist, okay? When we say there's no such thing as a bad question or a stupid question, There might be a question that provides one or two ideas. There might be a powerful question that provides infinite ideas. Okay, so it's more about the power of the question, rather if it's good or if it's bad. To say something is good or bad is a very binary way of thinking. And I think the more we get rid of binary thinking and start seeing the space in between, that is where more of us can come together with our beautifully rich, diverse backgrounds, ways of thinking, our perspectives. And as a collective, we can be more creative. I really believe that the value of humanity and what makes us powerful is our ability to collaborate in large numbers. This is the one reason why human beings, as an animal on planet Earth, are dominating the planet, is because we can come together in large numbers. I always get this quote wrong, but it says the sum of our parts is greater than our individual parts. I hope I said that right. But when we come together, the power that is created is wonderful, because somebody else can be the eyes that I don't have. They can be the mind that I don't have. They can be the heart that I don't have. And together we can be an incredibly strong force. We can only come together if we learn to ask better questions, to understand each other on a deeper level, to respect each other on a deeper level, to welcome the discomfort of breaking the biases that exist in our own minds, to explore the unknown. This message means so much to me coming from a country like South Africa, because we have come so far on doing this and learning more about each other and being the Rainbow Nation, but we still have so far to go. And I said in the beginning, when I tell people I'm South African, it's because my heritage is hope. I believe that there is power in questions. There is more enlightenment in the question than the answer. And learning to ask better questions, once again, is something that we can teach people, something that we can prioritize in the workplace. And it might mean starting off your work meeting, asking people a simple question. What has been something that brought you joy in the last 24 hours? What is something that is currently inspiring you? Or what is something that is currently holding you back? And how is this impacting your performance at work? Have an open discussion about it. Create the space. There's a famous organizational psychologist called Adam Grant. And he says when groups meet to brainstorm, good ideas are lost. People bite their tongues due to conformity pressure, noise, ego, and threat. And a better approach is brain writing, generating ideas separately, and then meeting to assess and refine. Okay? Group wisdom begins with individual creativity. A lot of what I'm speaking about is at an individual lens. Be the change you want to see in the world. Reflect on questions for yourself. Have the courage to ask questions in your workplace. Have the courage to create space for discomfort, space for uncertainty, space for the unknown. That is where true innovation comes. And I think that businesses that are able to do this are going to be the ones that succeed and thrive in the future. Something I should have shared right at the start. I met somebody the other day who works for a Fortune 500 company. And I started the conversation, as we do, saying, "How are you?" And he replied, "I'm surviving." The fact that people at supposedly the most successful companies in the world feel like they are surviving, to me, is a huge red flag. We should be thriving. And if we are not, what is the point of all of this growth and success? We need to speak about things differently. And to do so, as individuals, we need to work on ourselves. All we can do is take care of ourselves. And I think that one of the most profound lessons that the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us is that you have to take responsibility for your life. You have to wear your own mask. You have to respect other people around you. And to do that, you need to respect yourself, your own health, your own well-being. That's where all of this starts. But as businesses, we need to empower people with the skill set, with the resources, with the tools on how to do so. And again, I'm not providing an answer. There's so much that needs to be done in this space, but rather the question, what would it mean for more businesses, more small businesses, to integrate this into their culture right from the start? And I'll share this, I've come up with this quote just to kind of start closing off the message today. When you're not striving for perfection, failure doesn't exist. There is no perfect question. Okay, they are powerful questions. When you are looking for answers, failure does exist. When you are asking questions to generate ideas, failure does not exist. Have the courage to ask. Have the courage to ask. All right, so I'm aware that my time is running a little bit low, and I'm just going to close off by jumping through a few slides. I'm going to have to stop sharing so I can share my screen again. Here we go. All right, 3 circles. To me, this visualizes what growth looks like, right? We want to move from one place to another place. We want to expand. And in doing so, we need to be able to notice our boundaries and to respect them. Okay, boundaries are there for a reason. Either at some point in your life, something happened and your brain has told you, we need this boundary in order to survive. My question to you is, what do you need to thrive? And which boundaries are in place that are holding you back from living your fullest, best life? Okay, can you notice them? Can you respect them? And can you gently welcome the discomfort that comes from growth, meeting your edge and letting it soften? That is what it means to grow. It is uncomfortable. Having a growth mindset is not about being the best version of yourself. It is about accepting all versions of yourself, looking yourself in the mirror as the imperfect person that you are, and saying, I choose to love you, I choose to respect you, I choose to live a life that lets you evolve and thrive and be your best, biggest, most powerful version of you. It's not an easy thing to do. And that's why not enough people take this path. So to close off, I'll share this. It's not about how much you know. It's how much you are willing to question. Have the courage to ask. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's been such a privilege and such a blessing to share this message with you all. There's so much more to say on this, and I will continue the conversation in my own way on my own channels. Please do connect if this resonated with you, and I hope that you can take some of the messages I've shared and bake them into your business that you are building yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, Kristin, on behalf of everyone attending today, I just want to say what an incredibly thought-provoking, insightful, experience. I think that's the best way to describe it. And I know that there were so many gold nuggets put into such a small amount of time. I look forward to unearthing them for the rest of our lives, actually, so a huge thank you. Let's give Kristin a round of applause, everyone. Really, thank you so much. It was something so different, and often in a world where we're so task orientated, we don't stop and just think about these very life-changing and pertinent questions. So thank you so much, Kristin. We hope to see you again. And for the rest of you all who are here, just remember we are now having a time of networking before our next session at 1 o'clock. So go onto the floor, use this opportunity. It's very rare that you will be in a room with people from such diverse backgrounds, such diverse industries. And as Kristin said, our power comes in collaborating and learning and being curious. So go out there, network, find out what industries people are in, what are they up to, give them a problem and see it from their perspective. And then we'll see you again at 1 o'clock. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.